On the first day of my Methods and Materials seminar at the architecture school, I tell my students, everybody gets an A. They love this. And then I go on to say, if you're going to keep your A, you have to fail repeatedly. And so now we have a conversation. We start to look at what failure really is, and we throw out that thing that you just dismiss and move on from, and we start to look at it as unexpected outcomes. Unexpected outcomes that are a function of cause and effect, that can be analyzed objectively, and the students can use that knowledge to roll it into their design process. And so, with a brief conversation, we've done two things in that space. One is their professor told them to fail, which of course means they're free to succeed. But the other thing is we've acknowledged that innovation is a complex process. And the students understand that in order to innovate, they have to take risks, and that failure is going to be a part of risks. So now they own the whole process, and we're in this together. We've created an authentic space for learning. Authentic space. It sounds like a kind of lofty notion, and maybe it is, and it's difficult to define, but I've felt it, and I know that you have felt authentic space, and now that I've glimpsed it, I try to find it with everything that I do, from technology to design, teaching, and art. So, where did I find it in my artwork? Well, I was casting bronze and forging steel and carving wood and stone, and I was an object maker. I liked the resistance of those materials and shaping them. I had the knowledge and the tools, and I understood how to control those materials. And then about 15 years ago, I was blindsided with the diagnosis of an autoimmune disease. And this threatened me. I recognized that I was going to start to lose some acuity, some sense of control. And worse for me, I was going to perhaps be less independent. I was going to be relying on others. And that did not sit well with me. So I decided to roll it into my artwork. A few years ago, I did a commissioned work called Red Line at a sculpture grounds. And we started that process with 2 workshops. And I asked the participants, all right, I want you to draw the house that you grew up in, like an architectural plan view of the house that you grew up in. And so for the 70-year-olds, these drawings had the kind of nuance of a kind of nostalgia, and for the 7-year-olds, it had the distortion of the perception of space, like the closet with the Legos was bigger than my sister's bedroom, kind of thing. And so when they were done with their drawings, I asked them to move to the center of the room, and I asked them to make their drawings big and share this canvas. And this was challenging in a couple of ways. First, they're going from a private space to a really public space. Second, they're doing a drawing, and somebody's drawing over their drawing, and they're drawing over somebody else's drawing. So like territorial issues. And third, they had to kind of physically move through each other to do this. And so what resulted at the end of this was this kind of abstract tapestry of memory and space that I used as the basis to create the sculpture Red Line. Made from 1 ton of recycled paper pulp, this drawing became a kind of structural scaffold that when the sculpture was complete, it looked like this. 2 large surfaces, curved surfaces kind of leaning up against each other. And this is also an environmental sculpture, so it's designed to change over time, and this is what it looks like, something like this today. And so the paper space is falling away to transform the piece in a way that is reminiscent of the process by which it was made. And so coaxing the authentic space in my artwork meant working with a new medium, the human medium, which forced me to choreograph into my process aspects that I couldn't control. And that was powerful for me. But what about design? Well, authentic space for me kind of showed up in a foreign land in a really beautiful way for me with design. In 2011, in January, I was in Sibert, west of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I was there, I was alone, and the villagers were moving around me, but I was alone. And I had these 2 containers with transitional structures packed into them. And let me tell you how I got there. In 2010, you may remember, in 2010, there was a terrible, devastating earthquake in Haiti. And some colleagues, like-minded colleagues, and I got together to devise a response to that. And we called it the Haiti Soft House. It was a modular structure that was designed to be dignified and bright and high, and better than the blue tarps that people were living under, the 1 million people who were displaced from their homes in Haiti. And it was engineered to be Category 3 hurricane resistant and entirely earthquake proof because of its great strength, and it's very light. We raised money, we found partners, we made prototypes. We had 22 units fabricated in the United States and abroad, and we shipped them to Haiti. And so that's the backdrop. And I was thinking, once they cleared customs, woohoo, that's hard in Haiti. I was thinking, like, the job is done. But here I was at this kind of balance point, and it was me alone, and the Haiti soft houses and the villagers. And so I went to some of the elderly folk who were there, who were kind of like, who are you? And I was like, is this the right place? And they said, yes. And so without a plan, I just started putting up Haiti soft houses, which you cannot do by yourself. And so I started that. And I think the kind of awkwardness of that, I think my kind of balancing and bolting things together was the kind of open door. And then something amazing happened. The kids from the village all of a sudden took notice, and they came over and they started holding stuff. And so we started the process of putting this thing together. And once the kids were involved, the men sort of took notice, and they came over and shooed away the kids, and the men and I did all the like heavy lifting together. It's kind of high, and we draped the fabric over it, the scrim reinforced fabric, and we got all the parts together, and then we had to like kind of stitch the corners together. And once we were doing this stitching, the women came, and they ushered off the men, and the women and I kind of bootstrapped these corners together, and kind of got them tight, completed the soft houses, and created enclosure and waterproof and weatherproof qualities. And it took all day. And at the end of this, I sort of backed up and went to the old ladies. And in my butchered French, I said, "Je crois c'est complète." And estimé, the woman said, "Oui, c'est complète et je voudrais bien." It's done, and I kind of stamp of approval. I like it. And so the authentic space evolved as this like cycle of people. What I learned was that people want to help. They want to participate. And what I learned from this was they want to participate in ways that they're comfortable, ways that they can use their knowledge and capabilities, and that it socially makes sense for them. And so something beautiful unfolded there that I was not in control of, that taught me something, that I rolled into the way I approached technology. I forgot to show that slide. In 2015, in August, I was sitting by myself in a vast space, industrial space, in Brooklyn, in the Navy Yard, and there was this massive robot in there with me, an industrial robot. And its massiveness was underscoring for me the scale of my ambitions to create authentic space around technology. And it was also reminding me like how antithetical this space was to, it was empty. And I was thinking about the potential for failure, and it was triggering all of my insecurities. And this is what that looked like. It's like, okay, you're an artist, and like it's going pretty well, and you got good projects, and you don't have time to make any artwork anymore. And you're a technologist, and you're really good at making stuff, and there are a lot of people like your students who are better at coding than you are. And you're a teacher and a director in an architecture school that you never formally studied architecture, and you're launching this business. I studied art so that I would never be launching a business. That's like antithetical to the value, And that was naive, and that's not true, as we all know. Artists are small businesses, but this was my low point. So it did turn around, and it started as a trickle that became a flow that sort of started to draw in energy. And it started with, we worked with the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and we worked with the Metropolitan Museum of Art, doing robotic etchings with replicating pieces from their permanent collection. And we started hosting academic reviews of design studios that were using industrial robotics in their process. And we started calling people in from all over the world, roboticists and engineers and metallurgists and designers who would speak about what they do well, and we draw people from our community in to see that. And we started to host research initiatives. In this case, 2 designers who were using robotics to incrementally form metal, who, when they scaled up to what you see here, benefited from there being engineers in the space. They couldn't have done it without the influence or the knowledge of the engineers. And here's an architect who is committed to sustainability in his practice, doing architectural panels, who benefited from there being an artist in the room across the hallway who could help him understand how to do sand casting. And a nationally renowned dancer in India came to New York to do choreography with industrial robotics. And an artist from Seattle came to do light sculptures. And we also started to incubate small businesses. We worked with Bento Box Modular Housing. We worked with TrackKit, automated media delivery system that works with IoT, and Art Matters, which brought in researchers from MIT Media Lab and also University of Konstanz, Germany, and locally from New York. They're doing robotic painting. And all of this energy and activity started to garner the attention of industry. And so we got big architecture firms and engineering firms and construction firms and manufacturers who are coming to the space to check out the work and maybe even invest in the incubated businesses, who are also there to speculate about what's the disruption that automation will create in my profession in 2 years, in 5 years, and how do we stay on top of that? So we got education, research, incubation, and industry, and a STEM program. In 2015, we launched a STEM program, which we formalized in 2016, and I'm very proud to share with you today, we've just received almost $500,000 to support the rollout of the STEM program to the Title I schools from our district in Brooklyn. I like to say Industrial robotics is where art meets science and where engineering meets design. And you see, if you put two architects or two engineers or two artists in the room, they can kind of look askance across the room and feel a sense of competition. And competition is great. But if you put an artist and an engineer and an architect and a designer in the room, they look across the room at each other and they go, what the heck are they doing? And once they start talking, they realize that while the objectives may be really different, the problem-solving strategies are aligned, or could be aligned. And that's how collaboration starts, and that's how partnerships are made. And so today we synthesize this amazing layering of art and education and industry and multiple users, multiple disciplines, in which all ships rise with the tide. All the work gets better by way of there being a kind of complexity in the number of users. Some promote technology as having the answers to the big questions, and I think that's true. And I promote technology as a tool that we can bring people together, we can catalyze authentic space within which those big questions can be raised. Thank you.